Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, presented by Zwift. LR here with Benji for the Vuelta Stage 2. We had the TTT yesterday, and I was on a walk just down behind Ordino de Ruta del Ferro, and I was talking to Mrs. Rouge, and I was like, why isn't there more hype for TT time gaps? These are the things I'm always talking about, the cognitive bias or towards if we had seen Primoz Roglic put 33 seconds on the road into Almeida yesterday on a mountain, we'd be like, holy, huge gaps. But because we don't see them together, 30 seconds, big gaps. Anyway, that was my thoughts this morning. But this is a sprint stage, no big GC gaps expected. 176 Ks from Bosch, which is they have the little S climb, which maybe they should have included and made one of these stages of Brabants. Like, why are we in the Brabants region with no Brabantse Pale Light? Why have we got two sprint stages? Netherlands. Come and explain to me.
Because the Brabantse Pijl is in Belgium and the Brabantse Dutch region is this one. So there's a difference between the Dutch Brabantse region and the Belgian Brabantse region, and
No.
that's the reason.
Not allowed. Same region.
It is the case.
Is it actually connected though? Like,
no.
They're two
There's
distinct
a province
places.
in between. Yeah.
Sort it out. Okay. So it's a flat sprint. We did have the Alto de Amarongsa, 2.1 Ks, 2.4%, which had the KOM jersey on offer, and there's a flat sprint, 176 Ks. We had a delightful motorway overpass, which blocked the helicopter shot of the last 400 meters. Absolutely delightful planning and visual spectacle for everybody. But we had a breakaway, Benji, as expected, with, I think Vandenberg was in it, Dutch rider, unsurprising for EF.
Yes, certainly. I think he got second in a Bing Bang Tour stage back in the day in 2018, the one where Mohoric won from the breakaway. Vague memory. I think he won a stage in Tour de Polonia last year as well. Julius van den Berg on EF Education Easy Post. Javier Asparen also in this team. I remember this rider from being a decent Spanish TTer. Is that correct? Yes, third at the ITT and Cs.
He's good.
The memories are still all right. I'm happy about that. That's a rider from Euskaltel Euskadi. And then we've got Thibaut Gernalek, has been in the Quintana squad, I think, this year in quite a few races. Also in the early season, if I recall correctly.
Is all right.
Exactly. He was actually pretty strong at Bessèges, top 10 GC, pretty good rider. And he was in this breakaway. So that's our third rider. Miguel Po from Equipo Ken Pharma. He's a rider. I think he got a podium at a stage in Adriatic Ionica, but I don't know much about him. I won't lie about that. Jetse Bol at Burgos BH. He was in that breakaway a few years ago with Madrazo, I think. Both from the same team on a uphill finish, and then his teammate ended up winning the stage. Is a memory I have of this man. I think it was 2019. Yeah. Madrazo actually not starting this Vuelta because he got COVID just before the start of this race, if I recall.
Whether a Burgos guy has gotten sick, that is like detailed in the weeds. You must be following so many Twitter accounts. I had no idea. I mean, Madrasa, yeah, maybe he has won a Volta stage. Is that's the break?
Didn't he get a PlayStation when he won a Volta stage or so back in the day? I don't know. I've got vague memories about Madrazo. Anyway, that's the breakaway, but there was some drama before the start because there was a truck blocking the road at 35 kilometers in because of a protests. In the Tour de France, we had protests for climate change, to improve the climate and so forth. In this one, we had protests to open up the gas fields in the Netherlands. So a bit of a difference between the two Grand Tours here. I won't comment on that. It was gone by the time the riders reached it. So no issues. The protesters apparently said that they didn't want to block the race. So that's a positive on this end, I guess. And we ended up riding this breakaway stage with Alpecin being the team that is controlling the breakaway. And this is where the storyline starts becoming interesting because Alpecin decided, how about we try and catch the breakaway at 100 kilometers to go?
I keep telling you that they don't know what... They have no subtlety, Benji. I don't know, because it's not like, I get it, when there's that 10 kilometers to go, 2k 6% climb, you want to keep the break close.
Yeah,
that isn't here. You will just catch the break like in UAE Tour and then have nothing.
the Amarons is coming, my friend. Don't forget the
They do that at
Amarons are better.
45 kilometers an hour, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, like, I don't know why they were pulling. I guess they don't have any proper last men. No Rickard here, no De Bont, I don't think. But yeah, pretty curious. I think Vandenberg did make it over that, took the KOM jersey by a
Yeah,
point. And then Luis
yeah,
Angel
because
Oh, sorry.
the tempo in the peloton was significant to catch the breakaway, but with 10 seconds between the breakaway and the peloton, Alpecin was like, let us set up again. So the gap went out to 30 seconds again, and then they started chasing again to keep it at 30 seconds. So I think they realized when they were at 10 seconds, like, oh god, we're going to catch them too soon. This was not part of the plan. So anyway, Alpecin storylines, Luis Angel Mate, tell me more.
Well, he counterattacked, wanting some exposure for Euskaltel. I'm not sure if he's retiring. He's a veteran of. He's not actually a Basque rider, I don't think. I think he might be from Andalusia, but he's long-standing Spanish rider.
He's doing something for charity, I think, this Vuelta,
Okay.
but I don't know what specific thing it is. Whether it's
Like a most Ks in the break, money per kilometer. That would make sense, right?
Would make a lot of sense, and I think Mader is doing the same again, where he's doing it the amount of riders that he beats in this Vuelta for the entirety of this year, and I think he's like over 2K already in the amount of money
3K,
that.
I think.
Really? Oh, keep it up, Shino, keep it up, and Mate. Anyway, breakaway is caught again towards the end. We're going towards the final sprint, and then Cor Evenepoel is keeping himself at the front with his team, right?
I didn't get it. I've got some thoughts on this, but before we get to that, I'll mention our show partners, Zwift Academy. It's back and registration is open for 2022. Whether you're aiming for a pro contract like Jay Vine, who's here in the Vuelta for Alpecin de Koenig, or Neve Bradbury, or just looking to kickstart your fitness with some structured sessions, Zwift Academy will help you get fitter and have more fun on the bike. There are 6 workouts to complete, either solo or in group workouts, with baseline rides to compare your progress before and after Zwift Academy. Thanks, as always, to Zwift for supporting the show. Quick step Alpha Vinyl, Movistar, Bahrain, very, very nervous about the road furniture. It was a pretty sketchy run-in with 15Ks to go. The sprint teams did not have to come to the front, and we barely saw them. The bike exchange Durbridge led train, which I sort of heralded yesterday, was non-existent. And Remco's obviously very nervous, and my faith is diminishing every day. Actually, every time I see, because like Roglic and Jumbo Visma couldn't have been more chilled today. Roglic was like, "This ain't the Tour de France. I'm not fighting for position." He's staying at the back, and you didn't even see Jumbo Visma. They have the horses to do it. They have Dennis Turnison. Affini. If they wanted to, they could have, but they're like, nah, we're not fighting for position in Vuelta sprint stage. Not doing it. And Quickstep were like super nervous in doing it. Even Alaphilippe on the front, Benji. It's I don't know. It's hard to call it a waste of energy. No one's done the study to prove whether it is worth fighting at the front. There was a funny moment where I don't know who it was in Bahrain, and it was Cavagna on the left-hand side. They were shouting at each other for half-wheeling, and they're like, you slow down. No, you slow down, because they're in position. So GC Landa obviously is alive and well because he put Bahrain to pace. Master's nervous as usual. I don't know. I just think like
Petrago.
Who? Petrago? I'm not sure he has. Does he have the sway in the team to put everyone on the front?
El Patron
sure.
2.0.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't have a problem through the technical section, Benji. My problem is when Alaphilippe is still there and Remco is still there with 1,500 meters to go. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, be serious for a second. 3-kilometer rules happened. Relax. Stop fighting.
Yeah, but it's not the only team that was doing that. Ineos was doing something similar in the last 3 kilometers where they had Carapaz in the first 3 positions led by Van Baarle, and they also had a second rider in between Carapaz and Van Baarle. I don't know who the second rider was, to be honest. And
Plock.
They kept him at the front. Was it Blap?
Plock.
Oh, was it Clock? Okay. He had
Plock,
special glasses
Carapaz,
on.
Van Baarle.
Okay. So those 2 riders were at the front, and I started noticing, well, Ethan Hayter's not there. Where's Ethan Hayter? Is he gonna not sprint today? Is he at the back of the peloton where he usually is? Possibly. So I wasn't seeing Hafer. I didn't have beliefs in him sprinting this stage anymore when I saw those 2 riders being at the front in this stage of the race. And when it comes to the rest of the teams, you said it. Bike Exchange limited in the amount of rides that were still there. There was a point where they went to the left side of the road and they tried to put Groves in the right position, but it looked like Carapaz, who was left over from the GC rides at 1.5k to go, kind of Grove slotted in the wheel of Carapaz instead of moving past Carapaz with his lead out. And then Carapaz starts moving backwards, and Grove starts fighting with Merlier for the wheel of Ackerman, and Groves losing another position. And Groves lost quite a few positions because of choosing Carapaz's wheel instead of a sprinter. And I think that's something they can work out. I think it's logical that Carapaz at some point in the last 1.5 kilometers will drop back and that Groves will have to find another wheel to sit on. So that's one thing in the final sprint where I'm like, that's something that team can better in this final, is what I'd say. But when it comes to other teams, everybody was fighting each other. Let's be honest about it. I think Merlier was fighting McLean in some corner. I don't know what was happening there. But the positions, the problem is every single sprinter wants to go up with a pilot to the front. And if every single sprinter tries to do that, then they're going to be fighting
Not
for the
just
same
sprinters.
wheel.
Everyone. Lotto Benji, Bulan's, like everyone's trying to get to the front. It's a mess. Everyone's fresh. It's been the easiest stage at the start of a Grand Tour. Luckily, there weren't huge crashes. Impey went down with Roger Adria. But that was the only crash. There wasn't a mass pile-up, thank God. And the cliff notes to this is the team with the best lead-out won. Brian Mullen launches it. Koch, I think, before him. Then Danny Van Poppel goes super hard last man lead out. We don't know when Bennett launched. It wasn't like with 100 to go. It was a bit further out. We don't know because of the overpass, which blocks the helicopter shot, and the front on camera because of the contrast and sun exposure. You can't actually see them under the overpass either. So that was 1 kilometer of action, and we missed 200 meters of it in the stage. Fantastic. And yeah, Bennett, probably his best sprint of the year because, as I said, it wasn't gift wrapped, although he got the best lead out by far. Pedersen went from miles out as is customary. Merlier came third. That fighting with McClay, I think, did cost him because he was in Bennett's wheel. But Bennett was snappy. Like, if Bennett didn't have the legs like in other races, Merlier maybe comes around him. Turnison finishes fast for fourth, but doesn't take bonus seconds, but he does take the red jersey from his teammate Hessink. Ackerman fifth, Milano I didn't see, McClay sixth, Einhorn seventh, Stewart eighth, Degenkolb ninth, Groves 10th, and Evenepoel 14th. Like, what is he doing? Like, that's ahead of Cockart. That's ahead of people trying. Like, Cockart, he's like trying for a result, maybe. Like, I don't know, maybe he wasn't, but
green jersey, it's coming.
Relax,
it's
man. It's 3-week race. Relax. It's Vuelta sprint stage. Come on. Don't need to be wasting energy on this. He could have won the stage, though, if they'd ridden for him, just quietly. But Trek, Benji. The team, the lead out for Pedersen is non-existent, just about. It's got Kirsch, but Kirsch is like a setup man. Edward Turns was a really good job at European champs for he's Belgian, not Dutch. For Merlier. He's done 62 race days already, but they've sent him to Polonia, Wallonie, and Baloise. But now Pedersen's here at the Vuelta, and he doesn't have a last man on Turns level.
I believe that Turns would have been a good addition to this team, to be honest. And I think they've got the spots in this team to have that rider extra here. And it might have been the difference between Pedersen losing this and Pedersen winning this. Now, obviously, Van Poppel had a great lead out in this final. Let's not forget that. Amazing lead out, arguably the best lead out of this entire season. We can argue that Laporte is one of the riders that is the competitor for that spot, but I'd rate Danny Van Poppel a tiny bit above Laporte personally. We've seen Laporte make mistakes that Van Poppel wouldn't make this season. I think so as well. Now, when it comes to Trek, I feel like there was a moment where Kirsch was fighting the quick-step train or something, and I don't know whether that hindered Pedersen in this final stretch.
It was a little bit far out. That was a little bit further out. I was Ilan, Ilan Van, quick step, really doing that. And this is what I was also thinking about on a separate walk I did today. I had another thought. I was walking up to Colordino, and I was thinking, have any teams, yeah, I obviously don't know much about cycling history, but like the Jumbo Visma Tour de France win came off the back of gradual improvement. Not in the riders necessarily. Some of them improved very fast, but I mean the team's results. Like the directors are learning, okay, a sixth or fourth in GC with Hersink a decade ago. And then Kruiswijk third in GC in 2019. And then Roglic is a favorite. And then it didn't work out in 2020. And then Jonas second and Roglic crashing out. And then they get the win. It's like a decade of going to the Tour, trying to get the best GC result, being a realistic top 5 candidate in all those years versus Quickstep, where they don't have, like, when was the last time they top 10 to
Ah,
Grand Tour?
Uran podiumed the Giro for Quickstep in 2012.
Okay, so a decade ago they did. No, and Giro, was he on Quickstep when he got robbed by the neutralization on Stelvio? That might have been 13. So best part of a decade ago. I remember Lefebvre he was threatening to sue people. Maybe I could be
14.
14. Okay, so
Quintana
not that
won
long
in
ago.
14.
But my point is, they're going from like complete shift, and they're going to make mistakes. Like it seems, Jumbo Visma last year we saw it. Roglic and Kuss are just like we're just not fighting for position in Vuelta sprint stages. We're just not doing it. In the Tour you have to, but it's interesting. That's my big question mark about Quickstep is: do they know how to ride a 3-week Grand Tour GC as a team overall? And they're going to make mistakes. But
Mas
anything?
Vuelta 2019, they podiumed,
Okay,
right?
so my theory's not holding too much water, but he left. Maybe he left because he wasn't happy with how they were riding Grand Tours. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's dead. Anyway.
No, but they're still not UAE Jumbo Visma Ineos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where they're doing it every year. Point semi stands. Anything else from this sprint, Benji? Any flying finishes like a Philipsen in the early Tour de France sprint stages who you think has good legs but bad position today?
Honestly, I'd have to like rewatch the final sprint to see what a Stewart was doing, what an Einhorn was doing, but also what happened to Groves that he ended up being 10th instead of being good. Was it the factor that I said earlier that he kicked on to Carapaz's wheel, which was the wrong wheel? Mike Turnison was one that came from far and ended up 4th. And I have not confirmed yet, but has he taken the red jersey or has he not taken the red jersey?
Pretty sure he has.
Okay, then Mike Turnison takes the red jersey based on the fact that he has more points in the points classification, and because of that,
Or is it
he
cumulative
gets it.
positions?
That
I
might
think
be it, actually.
I think it's the cumulative positions, so that's why he has it ahead of Affini, Omen,
Yeah,
Roglic, Kuss. There's some time gaps as well on the stage, apparently. Now, these happen on sort of first cycling and pro cycling stats, but then if there's a crash in the last 3 kilometers, they all get given the same time. But for
I
the
think.
time being, O'Connor's
Okay.
on 26 and Igita is on 31.
And
Plapp's on 36. I'm just looking for any GC around
Geesink,
43. Anyone?
Geesink dropped and lost 43 seconds if this is the case as well, and maybe they did that on purpose to give it to a different rider on Jumbo the next day.
Maybe. But I don't know whether these time gaps will stand. But yeah, there's guys GC adjacent losing time, even Lutsenko. Like, this is very curious. Like Lutsenko, I don't know. It's yeah, like you can't be losing 30 seconds extra like Santiago Buitrago
Yeah.
if you want a good GC result here. So that's something to monitor for tomorrow, whether there'll be even more nervousness. That sprint stage is 194 k's from Breda to Breda, though. There's one Cat 4 climb. I expect Julius Vandenberg to be back in the breakaway. It's 300 meters at 3.7%. And yeah, it's going to be a sprint again. Learnings from today is that I would get on Sam Bennett's wheel. Would be what I would try and do. I would try and get on Sam Bennett's wheel, and Danny Van Poppel will probably deliver him in pretty good position, and then hope you can come around him.
Yep. That would be a good take. I'd argue the same. I think Merlier got hindered by McLeay a corner before the final sprint, and as a consequence, did not get his full sprint in, spent some energy beforehand. I'm Bennett does put himself back on the list when it comes to, in my opinion, the riders that can win the stage again tomorrow, for example, based on the lead outs of Van Poppel here. And I might have said before today's stage, Bennett will likely not win because even if Van Poppel brings him to a good position, he's shown quite a few times this year that he wouldn't make it to the line. But today he did. So while the victory of Bennett would never happen today without Van Poppel, Bennett still finished off the last 100 meters, whatever it was, 120, 150 meters, against a Melier upcoming behind his wheel and a Peterson who was, yeah, the guy, like, let's be honest about it. He needs to launch late early because he doesn't have the acceleration to launch late. But if he launches too early, then he also not going to make it. So Peterson's in a difficult position when it comes to his sprint. He kind of needs a lead out and puts him in second position like Laporte did to Van Aert in the Tour de France. And that way he can sprint from like second position and keep people behind him. I think that's the ideal lead out for a Peterson. So, like, for example, if it turns would have done that. But anyway, I do want to mention that we're starting tomorrow's stage with a rider less. Steph Cross crashed pretty badly throughout the stage together with Wout Poels, who hit the floor, and another Lotto rider that Malechki, I think, after returning from a very long injury recovery, but he's still in the race, fortunately. Steph Cross is not, who's leaving for Total Energy, by the way. Just want to drop that in while we're at it. But yeah, that's the first abandonment of La Vuelta.
Steph Cross is going to Total Energy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I hope he does well. I think he would have been going for. I think he came 20th in GC last year. He would have been hoping for maybe 12th to 8th, maybe 8th at a stretch goal in GC at this Vuelta with the sort of parkour it has. So a big shame for him. Could have got there. But yeah, for tomorrow, I am going with Tim Merlier. I think he gets it right, and if he gets it right, he can win. But Bennett looks fast. So, but I don't know if Bennett can go back to back. I remember the Vuelta 2019, Jakobsen beat him the day after Bennett beat Jakobsen on stages 3 and 4. I think it might go back and forth. So I think Merlier wins tomorrow.
I'm gonna stick with Merlier as well because he needs to win in the Netherlands because it's gonna be tough after the Netherlands to win stages too much. So I'm gonna go with Merlier as well, just because then he can have a stage win. Bennett has a stage win. Then we get to the rougher stages. Hayter went for the intermediate sprint today, got 1 second there. Does that mean he wants to get a red jersey on stage 4? All these questions. What's your take?
I think Hayter can definitely take it on. What stage would it be? 4? 5 might be a little bit difficult, but I think he climbs almost better than he sprints in the bunch right now. I think that must be the reason why he's going for it. For Bennett, Benji, like, Bora lost so much time, and Bora lost over 30 seconds in that
Yeah.
TT, and Bennett also he got dropped in the TT. So because if he won tomorrow with 20 seconds, like they'd stayed within 15, he could have actually taken the red jersey, but that won't be happening. So we're going with Merlier, has to win in the Netherlands, and it will be another sprint stage. So make sure you take a little siesta once you see the break has gone. The break formation's been a lot less stressful in the Tour de France so far. And yeah, that's all from us today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Zwift as always, and we'll see you at the recap of tomorrow. Ciao.